The beautiful village of Okoten and Adama's unique desire. Introduction to Okoten village. Nestled in the heart of Africa, the village of Okoten stood like a hidden gem, surrounded by lush, green hills and expansive forest. The village was a paradise, where towering trees whispered secrets to the winds, and the rivers flowed like silver threads through the landscape. The skies above were endless, with golden sunsets that painted the horizon in hues of orange and red, and the soft, constant breeze carried the sweet scent of wildflowers. It was a place of serenity and natural beauty, where every corner seemed to sing a song of peace and harmony. Okoten was a village of deep-rooted traditions and vibrant life, where people lived in close-knit communities, cherishing their customs and the land that nourished them. The villagers worked hard in their fields, hunted in the forest, and celebrated in the open fields, under the watchful eye of the sun. Life in Okoten was simple, yet profound, with each day bringing its own story, woven into the fabric of nature. Meet Adama. In the heart of Okoten lived a young woman named Adama, known throughout the village for her unmatched beauty and boundless kindness. Her presence was like a soft ray of sunlight breaking through the morning mist. Her skin glowed with the warmth of the sun, and her smile was a beacon of light, brightening even the darkest of days. But it was not just her beauty that made Adama so beloved in the village, it was her heart. She was gentle, compassionate, and always ready to lend a helping hand, whether it was tending to the elderly or comforting a child in need. Adama was the subject of admiration and envy, not just in Okoten, but in the neighboring villages as well. Her beauty had become legendary, and suitors from far and wide came to seek her hand in marriage. They brought with them promises of wealth, land, and status, believing that their material possessions would win her favor. But Adama was not moved by these offers. To her, beauty and riches meant little when compared to the value of a true, pure connection. Adama's unyielding wish. Despite the constant attention from wealthy suitors, Adama remained unmoved. She rejected each one with grace and firmness, never swayed by the material wealth they offered. For Adama, love was not about what one could give in terms of gold or land, it was about something much deeper. She longed for a partner who would captivate her not just with their looks, but with their soul, someone who embodied beauty both inside and out. This unyielding desire for a partner who possessed an extraordinary combination of outer beauty and an equally extraordinary spirit puzzled the villagers. They had never encountered a woman who would turn down such fine suitors, especially when they had so much to offer. Whispers spread throughout Okoten as people wondered what kind of man could possibly meet Adama's impossible standards. Rumors began to circulate that Adama had an unusual dream, a vision of a partner who was not only physically handsome but also possessed a mysterious, almost magical quality. Some said that she was waiting for a man of great wisdom, others believed she was waiting for someone with a connection to the spiritual world. Whatever the case, it became clear that Adama's heart was not interested in the ordinary. She was searching for something, or someone, that went beyond the surface, someone who could stir her heart in ways no one had before thought a magical encounter. Far beyond the fertile fields and calm rivers of Okoten, where sunlight barely touched the forest floor, there lived an ancient creature, a great python named Kolu. He was no ordinary serpent, but a being of immense age and unmatched wisdom. Legends whispered that Kolu had lived for centuries, watching generations rise and fall, and listening to the secrets of the trees and the stars. Kolu was the guardian of the forest soul, a creature born of old magic and bound to the earth by a mysterious curse. Though he could not leave the forest in his serpentine form, his presence was felt across the land. Kolu could see into the hearts of those who walked under the sky, and one heart in particular drew his attention, Adama's. He heard of her longing, her unique wish for a partner whose beauty matched the divine and whose soul radiated depth. Unlike others who sought riches or fame, Adama's desire intrigued Kolu. For the first time in many years, something stirred within him, a curiosity about human love, a longing to understand the heart that longed for more than what eyes could see. Kolu's transformation. Guided by ancient powers, Kolu decided to take a form that would allow him to meet Adama. Beneath the full moon and with the spirits of the forest as witnesses, Kolu performed a transformation known only to beings of his kind. His scales shimmered and twisted in a dance of light until they turned to flesh. When the transformation was complete, standing where the python once coiled was a man unlike any the world had seen. He named himself Kofi, a name carried by the winds from distant lands. His beauty was otherworldly, with eyes that held the secrets of time and a voice that echoed like music in the hills. Even the sun seemed to pause and admire him each morning. Kofi wore the elegance of a prince and the silence of a monk. There was a calm in his movement and a weight in his words that made others stop and listen. Kofi ventures into Okoton. When Kofi first arrived in Okoton, the villagers were awestruck. Dressed in simple robes yet walking like royalty, he carried stories of far-off kingdoms, mysterious mountains, and talking animals. Children gathered at his feet, wide-eyed with wonder, while elders nodded in respect at his tales filled with wisdom. Kofi's presence quickly became a centerpiece of the village's life. He helped in the fields, taught young men to hunt with honor, and listened to the stories of the old. There was something magnetic about him, like he belonged to the earth and sky all at once. Adama's fascination. Adama, hearing of the stranger, went to see him for herself. The moment their eyes met, something inside her shifted. Kofi was, without a doubt, the most handsome man she had ever seen. But it was not only his appearance, it was the calm in his voice, the depth in his gaze, the way he spoke of the world with both wonder and understanding. He was unlike anyone she had ever met. With each passing day, Adama found herself drawn to Kofi. She laughed at his stories, asked questions about his travels, and listened with growing admiration. For the first time, she began to wonder if her dream was not as impossible as others believed. Kofi seemed to be the answer she had been waiting for, handsome beyond compare, and yet filled with something far deeper. A question of conviction. Yet, as her feelings grew, so did her questions. Could a man like Kofi truly appear without purpose? Why did he know so much, yet reveal so little of himself? Despite the joy he brought, there was a quiet mystery behind his smile, a secret that lingered just out of reach. Still, Adama's heart beat louder than her doubts. Perhaps, she thought, her wish had finally come true. And so, as the sun set over Okoton and painted the skies with gold, Adama stood on the edge of a choice, one that would lead her into the most extraordinary chapter of her life: the proposal and the first warning. The proposal. One crisp morning, as the golden light of dawn spread across Okoton, Kofi took Adama to a quiet glade at the edge of the village. The trees around them whispered softly, and the air was thick with the scent of wildflowers. Kofi stood before her, his eyes glowing with sincerity as he spoke from the depths of his heart. "Adama," he began, his voice like a soft breeze, "you have captured my heart in a way I never thought possible. I offer you not just my love, but a life full of adventure, wisdom, and a bond that transcends the physical world. Together, we could explore the lands beyond this village, learn from each other, and grow in a love that is unlike any other." His words, so gentle and compelling, stirred something deep within Adama. She could feel the sincerity in every syllable, the promise of a life filled with meaning. But as she gazed into his eyes, doubts began to creep into her mind. She had longed for a partner who possessed both beauty and a deep soul, yet something in Kofi's eyes, something hidden just beneath the surface, made her question if she truly knew him. Still, her heart ached with desire, and for a moment, it seemed as if the weight of her doubts could not hold her back. Kofi's proposal had a magic to it, one that seemed destined to lead her to something greater than she could ever imagine. Adama seeks guidance. In the days that followed, Adama spent much of her time in quiet contemplation. She turned to her parents, whom she trusted more than anyone in the world. She shared her thoughts, her hopes, and the unease that lingered in her heart. Her mother, a wise and gentle woman, listened carefully. "Adama," she said, "your heart is a powerful guide. But remember, my child, Love is not just about beauty, it is about understanding and trust. Do not let your desires blind you to the deeper truths of life. A person's soul can be more beautiful than their outward appearance, and it is in this beauty that true love is found. Her father, a man of few words, placed his hand on her shoulder. Follow your heart, my daughter, but be wise in your choices. Do not let the surface alone decide your fate. There is much more to a person than what meets the eye. Their words lingered in Adama's mind as she gazed into the distance, torn between her deepening feelings for Kofi and the doubts that she could not silence. Her heart yearned for him, yet a small voice in her soul whispered to look beyond the surface. A dream of warning. That night, Adama dreamed a troubling dream. She found herself in a dark, fog-covered forest. The air was thick with tension, and an eerie silence hung in the air. In the midst of the forest, she saw a large, coiled snake, its scales glimmering under the pale light of the moon. The snake's eyes locked onto hers, and as it slithered closer, it whispered, "Beware, Adama. The man you seek is not as he appears. There is a darkness beneath his charm." The words of the snake echoed in her ears, sending chills down her spine. The dream felt real, more real than any dream she had ever had. The snake's warning was clear: danger lurked in the depths of Kofi's charm. But when Adama awoke, the morning sun bathed the village in warmth, and the dream began to fade like mist under the heat of the day. She shook her head, convincing herself it was just a nightmare, a mere figment of her imagination. After all, Kofi had never given her any reason to doubt him. His kindness, his wisdom, and his undeniable beauty had captured her heart, and she was certain that true love was worth any risk. The wedding celebration. The day of the wedding arrived, and Okoton was filled with joy and excitement. The village was adorned with colorful decorations, and the scent of roasted meats and sweet fruits filled the air. The people of Okoton gathered in the open field, their hearts full of hope as they prepared to witness the union of Adama and Kofi. Adama wore a gown made of the finest fabrics, her beauty shining brighter than ever as she walked to the altar. Kofi, dressed in robes that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, stood waiting for her, his eyes full of love and admiration. As they exchanged vows, the entire village cheered, their voices rising in unison, celebrating the love between the two. Adama's heart swelled with happiness, and for a moment, the doubts that had once troubled her seemed to vanish. The music played, the dancers moved, and the festivities continued long into the night. But beneath the laughter and the joy, there was a sense of unease that Adama could not shake. She tried to ignore it, pushing it away in the excitement of the day, but deep within her, something told her that the true journey was just beginning. The reveal and Adama's struggle. The truth unveiled. The wedding night in Okoton was still and quiet. The music had faded, the villagers had returned to their homes, and the stars blinked softly in the sky. Adama lay beside Kofi, her heart calm yet curious. A strange wind passed through the windows, and a sudden rustle echoed through the room. Adama sat up, her ears straining in the darkness. At first, she saw nothing. But then, her breath caught. There, in the shadows of the room, a massive shape began to shift and stretch. Before her eyes, the man she had just married transformed, his skin rippling, bones shifting, until he was no longer Kofi, but a giant python, his scales glistening in the moonlight and his eyes filled with sadness. She screamed. Kofi, now in his true form, spoke in a voice that echoed gently in her mind. Adama, I did not mean to deceive you. I am Kolu, cast many lifetimes ago to life as a serpent. Only the pure love of someone who sees beyond my form can free me. I never meant to hurt you. I only wish to be loved for who I truly am. But his words could not calm her heart. What she saw was not a man, but a creature from her darkest fears. Her world shattered like glass. Adama's fear. With trembling hands and a racing heart, Adama fled the house, running barefoot through the village under the cold night sky. She burst into her parents' home, sobbing and shaking, unable to speak clearly. Her mother held her, confused and frightened, while her father went to the doorway, only to see the long, glistening body of a python slithering in the distance, following Adama's trail. Kolu, no longer the handsome Kofi, called out, begging her to return. "Please, do not fear me. My heart remains the same. I only wish to love you as I always have." But his voice, once soothing, now carried a terrifying weight. And then came the warning: if Adama did not return to him, he would bring sorrow upon her family. Not from hatred, but from desperation. He could not survive long without her love. The curse that clung to him now burned fiercer than ever. Adama, torn between terror and pity, hid in her room, unable to sleep, her mind spinning with confusion, isolation and regret. By morning, the village buzzed with whispers. "She married a snake," they said. "A beast disguised as a man." Children stared. Elders shook their heads. Friends stopped visiting. Adama, once praised and admired, now became a symbol of fear and shame. Mothers warned their daughters to be cautious of dreams that chase beauty over truth. Her life, once bright and full of joy, dimmed. The villagers avoided her. Laughter ceased at her presence. Even her own parents began to question the future she had chosen. Adama wandered alone, her soul heavy. She sat by the river for hours, staring at her reflection, wondering how her purest wish had led her to such a place. Yet even through the storm in her heart, she remembered Kofi's kindness, the way he listened, the way he spoke of peace, the wisdom he shared with the village. Was that all a lie? No. It couldn't be. But could she ever love a creature she feared? Could her heart overcome the horror her eyes could not forget? A battle of heart and fear. Each night, Kolu returned, sometimes in silence, sometimes weeping, sometimes angry. But always longing. He left gifts at her doorstep, whispered prayers into the wind, and coiled beneath the trees outside her home. Adama was caught in a storm of emotions. She feared him. But she also pitied him. And somewhere, buried deep beneath the pain, she still felt the warmth that had drawn her to him. She stood at a crossroad. To walk away meant safety, but emptiness. To return meant facing her deepest fear, and perhaps finding a truth more powerful than any curse. And so, as the winds howled through Okoten and the moonlight cast silver paths across the forest, Adama closed her eyes and asked herself the hardest question of all. Can love truly conquer fear? The answer would come in time, and it would change everything. Acceptance, transformation, and the breaking of the curse. A journey of self-discovery. Days turned into weeks, and in the silence of her isolation, Adama began to listen, not to the noise of the village, but to her own heart. She walked alone by the riverside, under the stars, and through the forest paths where she and Kofi once shared laughter. And in that quiet, memories returned, not of a snake, but of a man who treated her with gentleness, who spoke with wisdom, who looked at her not with lust, but with admiration. She remembered how he had helped her people, healed wounds, carried baskets, taught the children, and never asked for anything in return. The image of the terrifying python slowly faded into the background, replaced by the truth she had overlooked. Kofi had never stopped being Kofi, even in his serpent skin. With each passing day, Adama's fear lost its grip. Her love, once rooted in appearances, began to grow from a place much deeper, a place of truth, courage, and acceptance. The power of true love. One evening, as the orange sun sank low over Okoten, casting long golden shadows, Adama stood at the edge of the forest where Kolu often waited. The villagers watched from afar, unsure of what would unfold. There, beneath the great baobab tree where they first spoke, Kolu waited in his serpent form, coiled in sorrow and silence. Adama stepped forward, her voice soft but steady. "I was afraid," she said, "but I see you now, not just your form, but your soul. You loved me, even when I could not love myself." You showed me strength, not in power, but in patience. You never stopped hoping, and neither will I. She knelt before him and placed her hand gently upon his scaled head. I love you, Kofi. No matter what shape you wear. At that moment, the winds shifted. The sky glowed with a radiant light as the earth trembled beneath them. A voice older than time whispered through the air, truth has been spoken. The heart has seen clearly. The serpent's body began to shimmer, twisting and glowing, until the scales vanished and skin returned. Where the great python once lay now stood Kofi, reborn, his human form more radiant than ever, but now with eyes that reflected not mystery, but peace. The curse had been broken, not by magic, but by love. A new beginning. News of the miracle spread swiftly through Okoton. The villagers, once full of fear and judgment, now bowed their heads in awe. They gathered not to mock, but to celebrate, their cheers echoing through the hills. Adama and Kofi stood together, hand in hand, as a symbol of love's true power. No longer just beautiful on the outside, their story had become a living testament to transformation, forgiveness, and the strength of the heart. They rebuilt their life together not in isolation, but at the heart of the community. Their home became a haven for those with questions, for those afraid to be different, and for those learning to see with the eyes of the soul. Legacy of love. In time, Adama and Kofi's story became one of Okoton's greatest legends. Parents told it to their children not as a warning, but as a lesson, that true love isn't about what is seen, but what is felt and understood. That beauty fades, but kindness remains. And that sometimes, the greatest transformations happen when we find the courage to accept the truth in front of us. The village of Okoton thrived, not just in harvest and wealth, but in unity and compassion. People learned to look beyond appearances, to listen deeper, and to love without condition. And so, long after Adama and Kofi walked their final path together, their legacy lived on, etched into the heart of a people who had once feared the serpent, but had come to cherish the soul within it. A story of courage. A story of redemption. A story of love. Forever remembered. The girl who married the python.